Hey friends, Tiffany Dawn here with James, my hubby, and we are in North Carolina on James's business. So we figured we'd film here in our hotel room in Raleigh and answer some of the questions that some of you girls have written in about boys. So I've gotten a bunch of questions that have been like, so there's this guy and I kind of like him, but I don't know that he likes me. What do I do? So I'm gonna read you some of them, but I'm gonna take out all like identifying personal information so it's not like nobody will know it's you who wrote it. Okay, so here's one message. I have a guy friend who's one of my really good friends. We've hung out a lot, and I wonder if God may have woven things together and he would fit together with me. We're in the friend zone right now. We've done a lot of things together. We both love Jesus. I have no red flags. Our families would approve, but what advice do you have with thinking that I know that this is the guy I would want to marry? So, advice.
Back up. Back up. You know,
it's so easy to like run ahead.
I don't want to sound though like I've never done that with anyone, because I have. It was not with Tiffany though.
Nope.
But it's, yeah, especially I think when you're younger, you haven't dated that many people. It is so easy to just daydream about your life with someone and just, it can be so perfect in your mind.
It really can.
It happens to everyone. So that's par for the course. You will feel that way about people.
It's true. I felt that many guys were my husband and none of them were, so, you know, it happens.
But
not saying that he isn't, but just that you just don't know.
You just can't know. And so it works just like this. You realize that person exists. Step one. You interact with that person. Step two.
So you've got those.
But you have to interact with that person before you go on dates with this person.
And you can't really skip that step. Like, I think it's easy to think like, oh, I know I'm supposed to be with them. We'll just skip the dating part.
No.
But it's really important to date because still things will come up that don't come up in a friendship. So it's like really, really important to still like have that dating season.
So you go on dates and then you make it official. You are dating this person. And then you have to date them for a number of months or sometimes even years, depending on how old and mature you are. The younger you are, the longer you need to date before you're like, could this be the person for me?
Yeah.
And you can't get to, could this be the person for me, until you've been dating them for a while.
Yeah.
Now, believe me, that does not stop anybody from daydreaming, but you can't really know till you've been dating them for a while.
Yeah. And there's different, like, everybody's relationship will look different. Not everybody's will follow that formula, but from what we've seen, we highly recommend that formula. Not that it's a formula, but I think it's so easy to, like, make things in our minds more serious than they are, or, like, imagine what it would be like based on our friendship with somebody. I've done that with, like, almost all my guy friends, like imagining, oh, what would we be like together? And then I'd be like, this would be perfect. And I realize now, like, they wouldn't have been perfect. Yeah, it's just important to like recognize what's happening and that it could seem perfect, and it could be that maybe you guys would be great to date. But like, as far as thinking like, I want to marry this guy, I would just encourage you girls to just kind of take the step back and don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is no one is going to stop daydreaming.
Yeah.
I think you're just you need to appreciate that, hey, I have daydreams about this person. Okay. And certainly if you find yourself daydreaming a lot about one person, you know, it even makes it harder to interact with that person in real life.
To be yourself with them.
So I think it's, to the extent you can, just try to remind yourself, hey, this is a daydream.
Yeah.
And I want to live life as much as possible and daydream less.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And we don't mean that to sound harsh at all. We have both done the very same thing. I think every girl does. But
a lot of times.
I think it is important to kind of pull ourselves back a little. Okay, here's another message. I believe that God has someone in store for me and I have feelings for this guy, but it's tricky because I don't get to interact with him a whole lot. And I'd like to get to know him or even text him. Is there anything wrong with being the first to ask for his number? Ask, girl, you got this.
Yeah. I think most guys think that's kind of cool. So I think you can wait if you want to. Or you can not. It's kind of up to you.
If you do ask for his number and he says no, like, I mean, that's the worst that can happen.
Or he doesn't text back.
Right. So I don't know, it's not a big deal. Like, it feels like a really big deal because I've definitely been there. But in the long run, it's just not. It's like, it's totally fine, and at least you won't be wondering forever, like, what would have happened if I asked for his number?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is, I've been liking this one guy, but I'm very shy to talk to him, and we don't know each other super well, but I can't stop thinking about him. So any advice? I've been there too.
That's tough, because the more you're thinking about it, the more
it's hard to interact with him.
Yeah, the more difficult it is to have a more normal interaction. I mean, a lot of times I think, how's it going? Works. I mean, for most people, it's like, hey, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah.
You can see, hey, this person's interested in talking. Hey, this person isn't interested in talking.
At the same time, I mean, someone could say like, how's it going? Oh, I'm fine. Like it's not really an open-ended question. It's not one that begs for more of a response. So I think something a little more specific can be helpful. Like, you know, what'd you do this weekend? Is that what you're gonna say? Or like, saw you in the game the other night. You guys did a great job. Like, and ask a question about that.
But practice questions.
Yeah, you go practice in the mirror.
Practice questions.
I have a crush on a friend who doesn't have feelings for me. I can't get rid of the crush because I think there could still be a possibility, but I don't want to hold on to hope. And he did flirt with me a lot, so it seems like he did used to like me, but I've prayed about it and don't really know what to think. So do you have any advice?
Yeah, I feel like that's something almost everyone has experienced.
Yeah.
And you're like, should I keep hoping?
Yeah.
Should I move on? How can I move on?
Yeah.
There's a lot there. But I guess in reading that, my gut response is, you know, a lot of times I think, especially Christian guys or guys who are trying to do the right thing, can be very, very flaky, especially if they're not in a place where they're looking to, you know, have a long-term relationship. A lot of guys can be like, well, I don't want to mess with someone's heart, so maybe I'd flirt with you because, hey, it's fun, I'm trying this out, but that doesn't mean that I have, like, thought about you, daydreaming about you, obsessed about you. I think a lot of times it would be better for guys if they just tried to date a girl for a while and see what happened, but a lot of times I think, at least for me, I would try to date girls in my mind. Observe, I guess I don't know if it's perfect, move on. I think that those are, a lot of times it's guys who are just trying to do the right thing and not play with your heart.
Not realizing that flirting is playing with your heart.
I don't think they think of it as that way, or they might not even realize what counts as flirting and what doesn't.
And it could also be like sometimes people are just very friendly, and so they do come off as flirting, or if you're like really good friends with them. That's not to say that he wasn't flirting with you, but just to kind of give a different perspective. It might have been different in his head. But I think too, like, there are times when guys have like very much led me on and then just kind of backed off, and I was like, what's happening? Like, you jerk, you know what I mean? And it's like, you don't want to like give up hope because you're like, well, he seemed like he was interested. But I think like if a guy's not, like we said before, if he's not really excited to be with you, then it's kind of not worth your time. And so if he changes and he becomes really excited to be with you, that's one thing. But if he's just kind of like, meh, you're a good option right now, it was fun flirting with you, which there's been a lot of guys who like that's how I felt like they were thinking about me, it's not going to be a great relationship. I don't think.
Yeah, it has very low relationship potential if you're the person who's always like trying to like is pursuing and trying to push the relationship along.
Like it needs to be that mutual, like both people want to pursue each other. And I think it's hard for girls to know how to move on. And I actually love some of the videos that Emily Wilson has done on this, so I've linked them down below. But I think of getting over a guy as like, if you keep thinking about him and thinking about how you want to get over him and wondering if you should, you're never going to get over him because your mind is just stayed on him. But if you're able to kind of think about something else entirely, like not even about how terrible of a person he is and how you and your friends stalk him on Facebook and are like, I'm better off without him, your mind's still on him. So instead, think about something totally different and just get involved in something else that you love. And I think that's the best way to get over somebody. And it can be hard, it can take time, and that's okay. And it just kind of takes different people different amounts of time. Okay, last question for today. I have a question about relationships, specifically commitment. I'm on the brink of getting in a relationship, and I realized I'm actually quite afraid of getting intimate with a guy emotionally, and yet I see other couples and I wish I could have what they have, but I'm afraid of commitment and of being vulnerable in case I get hurt. What advice might you have on this topic? I felt like that with every guy before James, really. I don't think I was afraid with you, but I was afraid with like every other guy who I dated or thought about dating. But that is something that I started getting counsel on. I started talking with my mentors about that and just kind of trying to work through that. Like, what's the root issues beneath this fear of commitment? Is it just because something deep inside me is like, this guy, like something about it isn't right for me and I don't know what it is yet, but I just get that gut feeling? Or is it more like I have fears from something that's happened in my past and I need to work through them? So that was definitely helpful for me, and to have them walk me through a dating relationship that I was really afraid to start, but I wanted to, but I was afraid of it, with the boyfriend before James. And my mentors just kind of like walked me through that whole relationship, and that was super helpful.
Yeah, I think it sounds like in reading this that that this person is not really comfortable being vulnerable, period. And being vulnerable is really, really important because vulnerability develops intimacy and it really allows you to connect with people. That's what fosters community, is vulnerability. So dating a person, if you're not comfortable being vulnerable, the person you're dating is the last person that you should be, trying to become more vulnerable with. Yeah. So what you really need is you need someone who is trusted, that you know is going to be there for you. It could be a close friend, but if you're younger, it might be better to have someone who's a little older and a little more emotionally mature and is not going to try to fix your problems, but is just going to listen, which is what you need. Because I think what you need to do is, once you start to become comfortable sharing this thing that you felt that you couldn't share with anyone, once you share it with the first person, you realize, oh, that wasn't quite as big of a deal as I thought it was. And then, once it's sort of in the light, you've sort of dug it out of the recesses and you've put it in the light, you can realize, oh, this is something that I probably shouldn't share with anyone except someone who's really close to me, or this is something that's share to someone who's like a closer friend. Just because there's brokenness in your life doesn't mean everyone is entitled to know about it.
That's true.
You don't need to share everything about you with everyone. You are totally allowed to be like, you're not really close enough to me for me to share those details. But you need to interact with a safe person first, a person that you can be vulnerable with, and then slowly introduce some vulnerabilities to build some intimacy in your dating relationships.
That's really good advice. And as always, remember, we don't know you personally, so find someone who you trust, who really knows you, and talk with some of these situations with them, because they'll be able to give you really good advice for yourself. But we love sharing your questions. Thanks so much for being with us today, and we cannot wait to see you again on Tuesday. Bye, girls.